Well, hello everybody and welcome back to another Sunday in the Bears Den Gardens. I guess I gotta stop myself from clapping down near my midsection since I got the mic down there now. But anyway, it is cold, blowing, snowing, Manitoba winter sort of Sunday out there. So I can't really show you the garden in much safety, but I can tell you that I went out today and checked on that parsley that was growing with the tomato last year. I put that under one of those dollar store collages, and even though I had to poke through the little hole to get some actual visibility into there because the rest of it's totally frosted over, I noticed when I looked really carefully down at the very bottom of that sucker, it still got some dark green growth going on. So I am really curious to see if that's going to make it through the winter, because I've heard from a fellow Manitoban that they sometimes feed parsley to their dogs, which is cool, and I will bear that in mind when we get our next batch of puppies, but that sometimes their parsley will make it through the winter. So having heard it, of course, I have to test the idea because it just wouldn't be Bears Garden any other way. But yeah, so that is why we've got that parsley test going on, in case I haven't shared that previously. Figured we'd start today's look around with the AeroGarden because I've got that pepper pod seed kit in here. It's been 2 weeks since we started it. I know, because it told me to add nutrients today, so it's pretty good about that. I like that about the AeroGardens because y'all know I'm a very forgetful sort of individual, and it's got the information right here. It makes it, well, gardening for dummies, right? I can actually grow with this thing. So everybody has different results with every different kind of garden out there. So some people it's not working so well with, but for me, I guess I'm one of the lucky ones. So I'll bring you in a little bit closer here and we'll take a look at what's going on with the pepper kit, and then we'll take a look at what's going on with my herb starter garden, because I think today we're going to pull some of those herbs out of there and get started on some of those seeds from JR, because, well, I want to give them the best chance at success that I possibly can. And in my case, in this season, that means starting pretty much as soon as the solstice has passed, because I need that good jump on the garden season. I got to check that habit, right? Smack, smack, smack to emphasize the point, but the mic's right there. So yeah, okay, let's take a look at these AeroGardens. We'll take a look at the rest of what's going on down here. And assuming you've got the patience to stick around with me, we may even go check on the Aquaponic garden downstairs. All right, come on in. Okay, so I just lifted up the light so we can take a look here. And it doesn't look like there's anything going on in these two purple super hots yet, but they do claim to take a little bit longer, so that's not too much of a surprise. Looking at the mini jalapeno, look at that. It says 8 to 14 days. Today is day 14. That's definitely been up for a day or two, so that's a good start there. What do we got on this one here? Well, it looks like we've got a seed that doesn't quite want to break off of that one there. So I'd give that a couple more days and then maybe give it a bit of a tweezer assist. And then over here we've got the red fire pepper. We got two that popped up in that one. They're looking all right. I'll put the cover back on for now, although I should probably take that off. We've got one for sure. Nope, we've got two popping up in there as well. All right, so next few days I'm going to need to decide whether or not I'm going to clip those and just toss them, or am I going to try and keep the extras that are growing here and plant them down in here, because I have had some success rooting, well, the tops of pepper seedlings in this garden last year. It's how I managed to get more peppers than I actually have locations. So that could be interesting. Just gonna have to see. It would be really nice if that other jalapeno did open itself up, but that said, I'm really only looking for one of the jalapeno varieties and one of the red fire varieties to grow in here full time. It just would have been really nice if this had actually opened, but hey, their guarantee is that it sprouts. It sprouted. They didn't guarantee that it would pop open. So let's just lift this up a little bit here. And you can see I've got some serious paling going on with all of these oregano cuttings up at the top. They've all got great roots going on. And I did give it some nutrients the other day. I gave it some more today because clearly, not enough in there. But I think Mr. Parsley here is being a nitrogen hog and just sucking it all out of there before any of these other plants can really get anything. Now, magnesium could be an issue here, and or iron could be an issue, because I mean, both will result in some really pale plants from what I understand. But, you know, look at this, the parsley. The parsley could just be a hog and therefore be the issue. But, you know, looking at this one, sage cutting here from forever ago, nice to see some roots on that, so that can be transplanted out. This can obviously be transplanted out. You know, all these poor pale oregano plants. I might give them an extra day to kind of suck up the nutrients that I just put in there. We'll see if we can get some more life out of them or not. But really, the whole point was to get things rooted in here and then start some peppers. So I think I'm going to grab a solo cup and pull a few of these things out, see what kind of pods I can fill spaces with, and we'll take it from there. Here's another one of the parsleys that I got growing on here though. Nice little, this is a 17, nope, that's an 11 watt LED, just a regular household bulb in there. I had to turn this because it's growing towards the AeroGarden, so clearly it likes the 20 watts from the AeroGarden more than it likes the little household bulb, but that's still some pretty decent results. I'm very happy with that. So yeah, I'm going to pause this for a minute while I pull some little plugs out here and see how many replacements I've got. That moment when you remember you've got a tripod so you can actually show people what you're doing these days. All right, now this parsley probably got a pretty massive root system going. Oh, I can tell from the sound. I don't know if you're hearing that as well as I am, but I am definitely losing roots to the AeroGarden on this one. Nice little pile of roots there though. Hopefully you can see that in the camera. Take a second, switch that so I can see what you can see. And yeah, almost want to just plant that in a little solo cup by itself, but I don't have a whole lot of garden soil that I can spread around right now. I'll just take the tweezers, tuck those roots back in there in case they belong to a still living plant. And we've got the sage. This one took forever to root, but you know, we can see we do have some nice roots on there, so put that in with our parsley friend. And this sage, nowhere near as abundant with its roots, but definitely it's got some on there, so plop that in there. Again, we've got some nice sort of longish roots on there. And then we've got all of this oregano. I don't know how well you can see it, and I don't think I pointed it out when I was looking at it with the handheld, but we've got a little tiny parsley seedling that's just kind of popping up in there. I really don't know if I'm going to let it live or not. Really enjoy having it around, but I might just tuck it into the planter beside it here. We'll see. Again, I'll give that one a day or two to figure out what I'm going to do with it. And then we've got all our oregano cuttings. Not a huge bit of root on that one. Or that one. I know I just said I was going to leave these, but what the heck. We're running down to the aquaponics anyway. And really, that's what these are, most of them for at this point. Because my winter goal for the aquaponic garden is to grow as many culinary herbs as I can. Oh, not seeing, oh, there we go. Roots off to the side. I'm like, I didn't see many roots on that one. A little bit on there. Oh, decent little bit of rooting on that. And some decent little rooting on that. Cute, but my solo cup runneth over. Looking forward to moving that into the aquaponics. So that gives us 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 empty spots. And it looks like just the one where we've got that little parsley seed coming up. So I am going to transfer that over right now, because why wait? And I think it's small enough it's small enough I can just pull it right out of its little pod in there, so I don't have to spend the 50 cents or whatever on another one of those. Oh, excuse me. And then replacement pods. I don't even know if I have enough in here right now. fill it back up. But I'm hoping I do. I guess we'll find out together. Like so many things on this channel, hoping for the best, and we'll find out together. That's what makes it an adventure. And gardening should be, you know, an adventure. I think when anything gets to be guaranteed in what's going to happen, you know, there's no excitement left. If you don't know what you're doing, it's easy to be excited when something goes well. Which, you know, that's the basis of my existence, isn't it? Okay, so I still have a few left over. 5. I have 5 left over. Definitely time to order more of those. And I can let that, I gotta cut the bottom off of that one. I'll just break it off. Because these 3 in the middle are not as long, or as deep, I should say, as the other 30 that are on here, which is probably part of why we get so much splash up when the pump comes on. And quite a few people recommend just kind of covering those 3 up, but being me, I'm going to use them, well, as much as I can. All right, so we're going to let those pre-soak for a little bit. I got my tweezers here so I can push open the little hole in the top when we get to putting some seeds in there. And considering what happened last time I put some seeds in, waiting for these to, or expecting these to soak up moisture, I lost quite a few of my seeds because the tops really didn't soak it up. I know I was gonna pre-soak it with some apple cider vinegar and stuff, but yet again, you know, I just didn't get around to that. So we're gonna let those soak it up for a day or two and take these downstairs to the Aquaponics. But let's take a look at the rest of the garden space down under the shop lights. So looking under the LED shop lights, we've got the orange habanero, still hasn't put on anything for me. Those 4 in the solo cups are all dead. I left them. I haven't watered them. That's entirely my fault. The Venus flytrap here though, we caught this fly and I used my little tweezers to try and feed it to the plant, and it was alive right up until I accidentally squished it. And so I figured, okay, this thing's just recently died. I'll give it to the plant. The trap closed, but since he's not fully in there, I think that's the reason anyway, since he's not fully in there, it didn't like entirely close, it opened back up again. It's kind of taking on this interesting red, and the plant itself, oops, I didn't mean to do that. The plant itself is developing what looks to me like it's going to be a flower stalk. So I don't know, maybe you can see that back there. If anybody's got experience with these things, it would be great to know. Is that a sign that I'm killing this off? Is that a sign that things are going well? This is going through about one of these little red things of water every, I'm gonna say 3 days, 4 days. So I'm keeping it good and moist, and this is easily the longest I've ever kept one of these things alive before. So yes, keep it moist if you're trying to keep these things alive. We got the bootless scorpion pepper over here. Still haven't tried that pod, not that I'm terrified or anything. Same with the bad brains over there. And then just below it, the aloe with the oregano. The oregano's going insane. It's like, look at it spread out all over there, which is fantastic because I'm looking for a living mulch situation here. I want to catch all of this light that I'm paying for. But the aloe, not doing so great. It was suggested to me that I did some damage to it by shaking off all that sandy soil at the roots, and that's probably absolutely correct. You know, I really wouldn't be at all surprised, but it does still seem to be stubbornly staying alive, so I do appreciate that. And I'm not seeing a lot of new growth in the center, but if you look really carefully, there is a new one that's shooting up. So I think it is just very slowly recovering from whatever I did to it when I transplanted it. So bear that in mind. When you buy one of these at the store, no matter how excited you are, try and leave as much of its original soil as you can. Let's see, we've got the bootla clamshell in the back there growing in the cloth planter. Again, you know, no pod production on that, but the plant itself seems to be doing okay. And the Trinidad Scorpion Butch Tea Red, you know, still alive, no real pod production. Gloriously alive, doing just amazing in my opinion. We've got this bad brains pepper here, keeps putting on these flushes of flowers, and Not necessarily giving me anything to show for it, but sure looks pretty when it does put them on. And I'm pretty sure at this point I'll be able to keep it alive until garden season when she's going outside. And if I can keep it alive through that transition, it should do fairly well. I suspect I will be planting it with its oregano companions there. Sadly, the sage that I put into the back of that dried up. Didn't like the deep watering situation, but the oreganos, you know, they are doing okay. So they seem to be a decent companion plant for at least the peppers. And I mean, the oreganos are doing fine with the aloe, and I don't think the aloe is suffering from the oregano so much as what I did to its roots. Now, here's an interesting little side note before we head downstairs. Yesterday I went to town with the family, and we went to one of those recreational plant shops, and they had the most beautiful specimens of a couple of snake plants, or forked mother's tongue, whatever you call this. And you know, I walked up to the gentleman he was an older gentleman working there, and I'm like, I have a kind of unusual question for you. And he smiles like, oh yeah, we get those all the time. I'm like, so can I take a cutting from your snake plant? He looked at me, kind of shook his head, doing a double take, like, did he really just ask for the snake plant? Okay, so we went off and asked the manager there whether or not it would be okay, and she said sure, so there you go. I've got some fast root from Miracle Grow here that Brandon sent me, so I'm going to give that a go with this. I have no idea if it's a good idea or not, but basically says plunk it 3/4 of an inch into it and then put it into some moist soil. I'm going to moisten this from the bottom before we head downstairs, but otherwise I should be good to go. I did manage to root some snake plant cuttings from the RM office, but unfortunately the cat we had at the time decided that was the perfect thing to knock over and chew on, so they are no longer with us. I am hoping without his assistance this time around this will do well, but I do recall that it kind of took a while, so I may need to look that one up. Anywho, we're going to end this clip so I can water that, and we can wander downstairs to the aquaponics. Alright, so here we are back down at the aquaponic garden, where things, I have to say, are growing along fairly well. I don't have much that I can complain about here. The tricolor sage, unfortunately, didn't make it, so we're just going to pull that out today and toss that into an available composting bucket. And I think that gives us a good spot to try and put our first parsley in here. But we've got a lot of things to try and stuff down today. So, it's the mint. Yeah, okay. Try and pull the parsley out first. Nope, we got an oregano. That'll go over here. Got plenty of oregano to go over there. Who am I kidding? Here's another one. Just gonna grab them by their little pods, stuff them all the way in. As long as those roots are hitting moist clay, I know they're going to get water, so that's absolutely fabulous. Although, you know, I might want to just do this from the other side. Makes a certain amount of sense when you get right down to it. Stop wiggling, little light, you're not helping things much. Okay, so we got another oregano pod here. Another oregano pod here. The main thing wrong with this aquaponic garden, and I have said this several times before, is this particular bed is, in my opinion, a little too shallow. I mean, it does work, but these things should be a little bit deeper for better flow through. That is going to go there in a second. We've got another oregano pod to throw down. Fantastic. Another oregano pod to throw down. Don't think I'm going to need to take any more cuttings from the oregano anytime soon, but I do think I'm going to need to do a more organized replanting of these things. Just kind of clean up the aquaponic garden bed a little bit, but that's part of the joy of ponics too. Like, it's just so much easier to move things around in these pebbles than it is in soil or dirt, you know. So, yes. All right, got another one in there. Any more of these? I think this is 2 more. We got this one and 1 more. All right, it's gonna be really nice to see this develop itself into something over the next few weeks and months. Yeah, I got 1 more in there. And yeah, I definitely don't need to take any more oregano cuttings for the aquaponic garden. Whoa. As the pump kicks in, don't know if you heard that gurgle or not. So that does leave us with our 3 little sage cuttings here. See how they are gonna do. This one's trying to pull itself out of its pod. But one over here, buried in nice and deep. A couple of older parsley stalks there we don't need anymore. Another, oh, very nice roots on this one. So we'll just kind of shove it in line, I guess. And, oh, I got mint trying to run through there. Gonna have to check that, cut that sucker back. I guess we'll put this sage to the other end. We got 5 in a row down the middle of this thing now. That's nice. Very nice indeed. Okay. Basil's looking not too bad. Some color coming back. The thyme I don't think you can see over there, but it's a little pale but still growing, so I will take that as a semi-positive situation. And that leaves us with the parsley. Sounds like that auto siphon is still working just fine. So that is good news. This parsley's now well bunkered in, so that is good news. I'll probably lose some of these outer ones, but that happens when you transplant things, so no big deal there. I'm gonna snap off this runner root from the mint, because that's doing fine on its own. Don't think we need it to add too much to itself. Got another runner root here I'll snap off. And then looking at the sage, hopefully you can see this, kind of looks like those flowers may have gone to seed on a couple of these. So we're gonna wait, and we're gonna let these dry on the plant, and then I'll take a closer look at them, maybe even have some sage seeds. That would be nice. Of course, I'll have to try sprouting them in the AeroGardens upstairs, because I'm just kind of hooked on the combination of these 2 types of gardening. I mean, the AeroGarden is working great for cuttings for me, and it's been working pretty good for seeds. And the aquaponics has always worked really well for herbs for me, even in the basement. So, you know, the only thing that's really kind of surprising me right now is that the sage has gone to flower, because I really wasn't expecting that. It's got the same light cycle as everything else, because they're all on the same timers. But yeah, need to check into that. Let that drain for a second. I do think I'm going to need to add some magnesium and maybe a little bit of chelated iron, but magnesium's easy enough. It's just a little bit of Epsom salts in the water. It's perfectly fine for the fish. You know, not too much of it, obviously, just a little bit at a time. And hopefully that will help bring up the levels. I can drop some eggshells in the water, which will slowly dissolve if we've got any calcium issues. And yeah, chelated iron I've been using in the aquaponics as needed for years. But that said, you know, I bought a little jug of it 7 years ago when I started, and I'm still not even halfway through that thing yet. So doesn't use a lot of it, just occasionally when you get some heavy iron suckers in there, it'll do it. Like if I had pak choi growing in here, like, for example, that would be a great example, because that always sucked all of the iron right out of my systems, and it was really easy to tell when I was low. So I think that is probably that. And apparently it's a good thing I'm wrapping it up there too, because my camera says it's got a whopping 4 minutes of battery life left on it. And well, I've discovered with some of these newer cameras, they don't go to the end quite as well as that old Sony Handycam I did used to. So I'm definitely going to say much love, everybody. Thank you for joining me here in yet another Sunday in the gardens while I suffer through the winter season. And make ready to get going for the summer of 2020. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I really hope to see you guys there. So take care of yourselves, take care of your plants, take care of what the universe puts in front of you, and we'll all be back here next Sunday. Much love, everybody.